not have happened. And I'll tell you why. I'll say that could not have happened. So Lyndon Pindling, in his attempt to be friendly and cordial to foreign investors coming into the country after the PLP had won the government in 1967 and then in 68, it caused him to get weary after the Robert Vesco situation and I should say the tax, whether legitimate or not, the tax, legitimate and illegitimate, I should say, the attacks that he took because of his relationship at that point with Robert Vesco. After that, I find that hard to believe that Sir Lyndon dealt with anybody else in that capacity. And I can tell you some of the people who were here who never met Sir Lyndon Pindling, never saw him to that point, not unless in the capacity as, like I said, a prime minister with investments. We had Anastasia Somoza. Never met him, but he was here. We had the Shah of Iran. He was here. They never had that, no relationship like that. And various other people. The point I'm getting to you is, after the Robert Vesco experience for Sir Lyndon, only certain people could have brought him money from any place. Now, whether he would have known, I doubt. Now, he might not have asked either. He probably wouldn't ask. But only certain people could have done that. And certainly, I would doubt that Chauncey Tynes Jr. Now, I don't doubt, I submit, Chauncey Tynes Jr. or anybody even looked like Chauncey Tynes Jr. could have been taking money to Sir Lyndon, like how the story purports. They say it happened. Now, Sir Lyndon, of course, he was no saint, and I'm not defending him. I'm not defending him. I'm just saying there are things that I know that he did not do and that he would not do. Now, I want to talk about this thing, and one of the things that he did not do and he would not do is be involved in the death by any means, murder, or as they say that people believe that Sir Lyndon had Chauncey Tynes Jr. murdered for whatever knowledge he may have had. Please, that is so irrational, that is so illogical, because Sir Lyndon Oscar Pindling and anybody who even looked like him wouldn't have the guts to even mention murder. Wouldn't have the guts to even mention murder, much less be involved in something like that. Would not even suggest it either in a roundabout way like some leaders do nowadays, to get somebody to do it so Sir Lyndon couldn't say he said so. So Lyndon was a coward in that respect, if coward is what it should be called. Now, Chauncey Tynes Jr. though also was no saint. And now I come back to where I said he reminded me of a contractor who gets his mobilization money. At a point, we all know, Carlos later became a fugitive from justice, for extradition, and in fact was extradited on January 28, 1987, on a Sunday. point, and prior to that, Carlos was under heavy fire in his own country. And I would have to say more than likely, Carlos was just allowed to languish and be given up by the rest of the crew for whatever his fate would be, and we understand what his fate was. At that point, Chauncey was still doing his drug flights, but not necessarily, and not knowing that he had a different immediate superior. And the reason why I would say not necessarily knowing, you'd be foolish to believe that in any business, legitimate or otherwise, in any company, you'd be foolish to believe that one of the board directors is the one who gives the instructions to the boy in the mail office where to deliver the mail. The instructions do go down from one way or another. But Chauncey kept on doing what he did best. Act like a contractor, playing with people's money. Now, they say that Chauncey was murdered. I'm hoping I took out of anybody's mind that Sir Lyndon Pindling had anything to do with that. And not defending Sir Lyndon Pindling, but just that he wouldn't have that kind of, he never even would have had the ambition. He wouldn't have even had the ambition to think about murdering anybody. But back to Chauncey. At the time that Chauncey, as they say, disappeared, whatever, the thing that was a fashionable thing to do and effective too, to do when you wanted to get rid of someone, and this was before the rampages that Escobar went on, killing hundreds, killing scores of people at a time. Before the judges were kidnapped and held in the courthouse in Colombia. Before that, the fashionable thing was to do is if you had somebody, and the thing that was done, if you had somebody that you had to get rid of, or you had to dispose of in some way, the fashionable thing was go for a ride in the airplane. And when you get in the airplane, you throw the person out. I submit to you, or I submit to Bahamas Press and to the public, that is the fate that Chauncey Tynes Jr. met. Now, they never found him. They never found the plane, they say. There was no indication that there ever was a plane. Well, we all know that if you're flying under the radar, and it's a drug plane to begin with, then you will not necessarily find it. But I submit to you this, again, that Chauncey Tynes Jr. may have been murdered, but he would have been murdered on that plane and then thrown out of it. Or just